What's going on, coaches? Hey, let me ask something. Do you want to raise money for your program? Of course you do. That was a stupid question. Well, stick around because Kenny Simpson's here, and we're going to be talking about fundraising. What's going on, coaches? Hey, if you're new here to my channel, Coach McKie, we talk football. I have got a guest on right here, and there we go. The man, Kenny Simpson. Kenny, man, what's going on? Thank you so much for being here. I'm not going to have you talk about anything because, you know, you're already, if they don't know who you are, they don't know. So let's get into it. First off, I want to touch a little bit. You've made a transition this year. And I want to know, like, how was that transition going? Tell us what you did this year that you're not doing in previous years, and how's that going for you?
Yeah, it was kind of a big decision. You know, Ron, I'm glad to have kind of a friend like you I could talk to a little bit. And a lot of guys that are in our space that create materials for coaches, there's such a pull for that with time. And it takes so much time, and I get so much contentment and value out of that. I know you do too. But you know that you only have 24 hours. So if you're doing that, then you can't really give all you want to give to be a head coach. And to me, you know, when I started realizing I was reaching people globally, it became so humbling and awesome. And it's so fulfilling that it was something I really wanted to pursue. This may never happen to me again where I can reach people globally. And so wanted to take the opportunity, thought about getting all the way out of coaching just to do this full time. But I've got a 13-year-old boy who wants me to finish coaching him. And so opportunity rose up for us where I could actually go back to being an offensive coordinator, which if you've been a head coach, that is a lot of time you just freed up. You younger guys being an OC is still a big job, and of course I'll take it serious, but it does free me up to do more stuff like we do.
That is awesome. And how is the transition? Like, I know we were talking off air, you can sleep a lot better now since you don't have all these moving parts, but I want to know, like, how does that feel knowing that, hey, I don't call the shots? Do you feel like, oh, I wouldn't do that? Or are you just like, man, I am glad I don't need to do that. I am just working on offense.
Well, the one benefit of being a head coach is I know the pressures that come with that, where a lot of guys who have not sat in that seat before, they want to question every decision that's made. And I'm just sitting there going, guys, you don't know. He knows a lot more than we knew about what's going on. 100% my support, and like you mentioned, I'm enjoying it right now. I get to go call plays. I don't have to deal with discipline issues. I don't have to deal with all the stuff that comes along with a great responsibility of being a head coach. So, and fortunately for me, I'm kind of going back home. I'm going back to guys that I worked with before that I think there's a mutual respect, and they are very supportive of what I'm trying to do, and of course, hoping I can get there and help them win some games on the end that they're wanting me to help them with.
And you will, and you're also going to help them raise some money. Now, coaches, welcome first off. Go ahead, put where you're watching this from in the chat. If you have any questions, you know the drill. Just put them in the chat, and we will bring this up. Justin, what's going on? Steve, how you doing? Jacob, I will get to your question in a minute because it's a great question. But first, I want to talk about the book, man. You wrote a book. Tell us a little bit about this book. Let me get my ugly face out of the way. And what made you decide to write this book on fundraising?
Well, you know, one of those deals, right when I made that decision to kind of step back from being a head coach, I was kind of in the middle of putting out a lot of materials. And one of the things that we had done at Southside was raise a whole lot of money. You know, I got the job. We played basically in like a grass field and didn't have a lot of stuff. And so I had a private school background. I actually had a business background in college. And so knew a little bit about how money worked, probably more than the average coach. And just started recognizing, like, I would go places and just talk about it in other books about money we've raised, and I started getting a lot of questions. And I just thought down for a minute and said, you know what? Like, there's not a coaching 101 on how to raise money. Nobody teaches coaches how to do this stuff. However, how many times as a coach have we been frustrated that we can't get what we want? You know, you go in, you want turf, and we can't do that. We want this, we can't do that. Well, most of the time, if you can raise the money, if you guys have read my books before, if you read my books before, it's pretty short. I mean, it's short to the point. Not going to waste time. Here's exactly what we did. Here's how it worked. Here's why we did it. And it doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody, but at least it gives people kind of a meat and potatoes, no fluff. Just here's how you raise money, because I really don't want a 500-page book on fundraising. I just want to know how to do it and get it done.
Yeah, and I'm going to be completely honest. In the day of TikTok, I don't think I could read a 5-page book other than yours, man, because like you said, it's very succinct, to the point, talks about what it needs to be talked about, and you're a great writer, dude. You're a great writer. What book is this, like 22, 23?
No, that's number 10.
Oh, okay.
Again, if you saw the rough draft, you wouldn't be as kind. The lady who did the cover for that and her mother, with my wife and my mother-in-law, make me look literate. You know, if you read my other stuff before that, you go, my goodness, how many commas are you going to throw in here? You know, so they do such a good job. But it's been a fun process. And like I said, to me, this is more of a manual even than a book. It's more of a kind of a how-to do it, just packaged nicely because I've got a graphic designer one day.
Yeah, that's nice. Your superpower. So, Jeffrey, thank you so much for being here. He is from Minnesota, I think. I'm stupid when it comes to geography. He also got the book himself. Justin, what's going on, man? Coach JB from New Jersey, how are you doing? Steve, of course we know you're from Illinois, man, with your podcast. I'm glad that's going well. Tyler, hello. Anthony, what's going on, my man? Zach from Illinois, how are y'all? Now, first thing that let's go back. You're a head coach. You just came in. I know your story. You came in. Your program was kind of down. You had to turn it around. What was like the first thing you did to raise money?
Well, the first thing was field turf. You know, and when I got in there, you think about the situation I'm coming from. Because a lot of guys go, we can never get field turf. This is what everyone at the school I took the job thought. We came in, hadn't won a game. They hadn't won a game in 3 years. This is a rural school, 70% free and reduced lunch, and we don't have the money in the budget. It's not going to happen. What I did have was a very forward-thinking superintendent, which is why I took the job, and he actually wrote the forward to me in the book.
Yeah, I noticed that.
You know, he's retiring now and getting out of education. Now he's going to go make real money, I'm sure. But anyway, he was forward-thinking enough to say, look, if you think you can raise the money, then let's do this. And that was our first thing. You know, my thought process was, we had played like 8 games that year. It was like a rainy season. It was a mud pit. It was nasty. And I'm looking across teams we're playing at our level, and I said, we've got to match our facilities. Coach can say all we want, and I know there's legalities. You can't use the R word of recruit. However, your facilities, they recruit. Whether you say they do or don't, you know, a kid comes in and they look at your school, at your facilities, and someone else's, and you better be on top of the game. So our first thing was field turf, and then we kind of graduated up to other. I think there's in the book there. And the last thing we ended up doing was that giant video board you can see on there. So we had a plan. You know, we had a plan that was 9 years, and I said we're going to do turf, and then in 3 years we're going to redo our bleachers, and then in 3 more years we're going to do this. And so you kind of had all these goals, long-term goals. That's one of the themes in the book is having a clear plan of action, not just dream. But here's what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and financially how we're going to make that happen.
Okay. All right. Well, we got some questions coming in. Jacob wants to know, what is a great strategy to raise money in low-income areas where sponsorships are limited?
Yeah, first of all, understand sponsorships, be careful about saying limited because the area I just came from, we have a Sonic and a gas station. That's about it. You know, so realize where I'm coming from. We're not coming from Metropolis or wherever. You know, however, there are a lot of different businesses. That's the best way to raise big money. There's no way around it. I think I've mentioned that in the book. There's big money comes from big places. You know, that's just kind of how the world works. But sponsorships are big, and anything that's 100% profit. So there's a lot of different things you can do to kind of gain 100%. So I think one of the small ones I mentioned in the book is like how we did our discount cards. There's 9,000 companies that do discount cards. We just chose to do it ourselves because we wanted to make every dollar, you know. And so there are a lot of things you can go about doing. My main thing is it needs to be 100% profit. Like, don't sell candles or cookie dough, or don't go do random things where you're selling somebody else's product. You got to kind of think about it logically. Those candle companies aren't to sell candles. And so when you sell things, you're giving them a big portion of that profit. So don't do stuff that handles that. Look at advertising is the best one. Number one, then you look at things that like a discount card, or you can do an event, a one-time event. But you'll kind of go through there, and I don't want to go into super detail. I will if you guys ask questions about it. But main thing is just remember 100% profit. If it's not that, don't do it.
Okay. All right. Next question is from Coach JB. We are a new youth program. How can we get money?
Well, there's a couple of things you can do that I think we mentioned in the book. The easiest one probably is to do those programs. Because here's the deal. I've got kids that have gone through youth football. I've got one now that he chooses to play football. We'll go through youth football. And what are we going to pay money for? We're going to see his picture in a program. We're probably going to pay money for that. So there's different things you can do to produce money. A lot of times, too, in a youth program is what do you need? What are you raising money for? A lot of times people go out and raise money for a youth program, and we don't really know where that's going. Does that go into equipment? Does that go into – what's it go into? And then you want to specialize your fundraiser to work with that. So if you're trying to raise money for, like, gear, well, man, team up with, like, a local athletic company that produces gear. You'd be surprised how much stuff they would probably donate just for the advertising. Hey, we got this from this company. Putting names on the back of shirts is a very simple, very clean, very easy way to do it. Anytime you can put either portable signs around the field. I know youth programs, you may be sharing a field, portable, or if you're blessed enough to have your own field, permanent signage. That's going to be the cheapest way for you to produce the most amount of money early on.
Okay. And I'm going back. I'm trying to put myself in your spot. How much, especially starting out, was fundraising? Like if you were to do a pie chart of all the head coaching responsibilities you had, what was what was fundraising in relation to that? Like what percentage?
Well, when I was at a private school, much higher. But at a public school, my goal, you look at responsibilities, budget, and monetary issues, is probably about 25%. Now, fundraising depends completely on your situation. If you're in a situation where you're very blessed and you get a lot of money, well, then all you got to do is be an accountant. Just budget what comes in and what goes out. So if you're getting into we want this, we want that, that's going to take quite a bit more time. So depending on your situation, again, I was blessed enough I would delegate one of my assistants. That kind of became his baby. We worked together on everything. I'm the one who's going to get fired if we don't raise enough money. But that guy, that was kind of his ownership role. Which is a really good thing to do as you get an assistant coach who wants to be a head coach one day. That's a great place to start them because those relationships inside the community become so important that a lot of guys don't understand that. A lot of coaches, we go out there and we want to sell Slim Jims, we want to sell whatever, and then we feel like we're going into a business and we're begging. And it doesn't need to be that way. It needs to be a partnership, a relationship.
How do you go about building that relationship? Like what are some key points that you think coaches should know about when they're building that relationship with the businesses and in the community?
If you're not already doing community theme nights in your program some way, you're missing the boat. Because here's the deal is we would do a meet the whatever, name your team there night where all it is a pep rally. We're not even going to play a game. We're just going to announce every cheerleader, we're going to announce the football player. We start announcing the volleyball girls, and it kind of grew bigger every year. But what we did was every company that had done something for us received an invitation to come out there and promote their company. That could be handing out coupons to the local restaurant. That could be, one of our banks has like a mascot. He would come out there and go around and just pumping up their business. The car companies had their trucks lined up there. So it became a relationship now where now I know that person and they know that I do want them to succeed. We would do so that's one thing you can do. The other thing is obviously sponsorships, where you do if you have signage around the field or if you recognize huge partners at halftime. Most football programs also have a banquet. Yeah. That's an easy win for a coach. You invite all of them. Half of them won't even show up, but the ones that do show up, hey, we want to recognize, KFC who donated our meal for whatever it is. And you'd be surprised how far a hat and a handwritten note will go. I mean, those are just simple, common courtesies. But a lot of times as football coaches, we're so overwhelmed that falls through the cracks.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, Napoleon, I'm tying in history, got his men to fight for him for a piece of ribbon. So, and that's their life. So if you give a company a hat and, like you said, a thank you note, they may cut you a check for whatever it is you're trying to get. Whether it be new helmets, shirts, socks, cleats, whatever. So I like that. In the book, and we've talked about this as well, you talk about trading, how you got a nice truck for nothing. How did you do that?
Yeah, well, that's the deal. It's the art of the trade. I mean, most business people kind of own that. It's kind of called an in-kind trade. So basically the way that works, and I'll work my way up to the truck here, is most restaurants may not want to give you money, but they'll feed your team for free. Because you think about it, like if I go eat at McDonald's, that might cost me $10. It costs them like $1.50 to make that, okay? So a lot of times you can work these trades of things we need. I know it's not money, but we do have to feed our team.
Yeah.
Or you mentioned the truck. You know, the company at that point, that was before the car shortage of America that's going on right now. But at that point, they didn't want to come up with a large sum of money. But they said, you know what, do y'all need a vehicle for football? Yeah, of course we do. Or think about doing a side-by-side or an ATV. You know, we made a trade there. We made a trade at one point for lawnmowers. You know, we needed mowers for our practice fields. And so there's a lot of things that a football program needs that your administrators are going to be very, very happy that you're going out and getting, that they're not having to buy, that they were already having to spend. We have a technology part. So there's a local company here that's real big into like science and technology. So they wanted to give money specifically earmarked towards technology. Well, that went towards like our huddle sideline, you know, our sideline replay stuff. And so there's ways you can kind of make trades there. We built our own custom lockers. That would have cost me probably $800 a locker.
And those things were nice, man.
Oh, they're sweet.
Yeah.
We found a company and said, hey, look, here's what I want. Let's design this together. And, you know, what we'll do is whatever you guys spend on your labor, we're going to count that as your sponsorship towards the money, which is going to get you on the video board, which is what everybody wants to get on. So there's just making trades. So we're getting what we wanted, you know, but we're not having to just take cash, because some companies are going to be way more willing, you know, to give their stuff. Here's an easy one for those coaches maybe listening. You want to get T-shirts for your kids. Well, whoever you order from ought to throw in free T-shirts for their logo on the back. They want your business. If they don't, then you can go somewhere else and get T-shirts printed. There's a gazillion companies to pick from. So you don't have to be rude or ugly about that, but you do it's business. And if you're going to scratch my back, then I'm going to give you more business. That's just kind of how the world works.
Yeah. What I love about you, man, is you are very nice and generous to coaches, but to businesses, you're a hard ass, and you know the art of the trade. You're like, no, this is how it's going to go, and it's either my way or the highway. And I freaking love that, man.
Well, you think about it too, like if Ron Mackey's going to buy my book, you know, I'm going to be real nice to Ron. If Ron Mackey's school district is going to cut a check, that's not Ron's wallet. So I have no problem with hurting. It's not Ron's feelings I'm hurting. You know, that's his school district. Well, think about that in businesses. You know, it's not the insurance agent. They're not the one writing you the check. They're going to their co-op who has this huge budget for advertising, and they're getting you money. So it's not like they're personally writing you a check out of their account. If they are, then obviously you need to be very respectful of that. But most of these larger companies, or even smaller companies, they got a budget. They're going to spend it somewhere, and 5,000 people are coming to your games on Friday night, and that's who they want to market to.
Yeah, they'll cut to that check. What is a strategy that you just happen to stumble upon, and you're like, oh, damn, this is really good. I need to do this more often.
Yeah. Well, my superintendent, the guy that wrote the foreword for me in the book, he used to use the word partnering. Like, that wasn't a word I used a whole lot. I just thought it was like, I need money. Like, but he would always say the word, we're going to partner, we're going to partner, we're going to partner. And I was like, I feel like it's an unequal partnership when they're giving us $50,000 and we're giving them a half, you know. But the way he kind of was able to use his words instead of, you know, because an old coach like me would have walked in and said, we need $50,000, please. You know, but the way he presented it was a way of, hey, we're going to work together in this.
Yeah, let's partner up.
And I think that's a big deal. A lot of coaches don't realize is we do offer value to these companies. I mean, you think about it, if you're a car company, the first car somebody buys, they're probably buying that car brand the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So if I'm a car company, I want my trucks in front of your 18-year-old football players. You know, or if I'm military, I want that. So there's a lot of people you offer value to, and I think we sell ourselves short as a coach because a lot of times we're going to ask for more money than we would make in 10 years in our salary, and it scares us. It scares me.
Yeah, coaches, and I could tell you this could be a whole show on this, have something with money blocks. And it's not just coaches, it's just like people that are in education, because we don't see that much money. So when we do, we're like, holy crap, how this happened. But I love that ability, the partnership. It's almost like when you want, it's kind of reverse psychology, because if you want someone, let's say I want you, Kenny, to do something for me, I'm not going to go, Kenny, do this for me. I'm gonna be like, hey, I need your help. And that kind of puts you at the mercy of the other person. And now that subconsciously, and I've been studying this, you now feel like superior than me. Like, oh, I am now the superhero. I can now help. So when you go to businesses and you're like, hey, could we partner up? A lot of businesses nowadays, they're like getting crapped on. So when they hear partnership, they're like, oh, I like that. I can now, flaunt that in my advertising. Like, hey, we help such and such school with a field or a locker room or new balls, because good Lord, man, those balls are expensive. I know that sounds weird when I say that out loud, but those things are expensive. They're expensive, man.
They are. That's why I love seeing our kids go in the parking lot. I'm just kidding about that. And one other thing too on business is just something that as a coach need to think about is you don't want to come across as begging, but you want to set a timeline. So another little kind of maybe trick, not really a trick, but just a nice way of kind of saying we need a deadline is to say when you walk in, let's say there's 2 car companies in your town. So you pick to go in one. So what we're going to tell that guy is, hey, we wanted to come to you first because we know you've been so supportive of our program. We wanted to give you all first opportunity. No hurt, no problem if you guys can't do it. We understand it. We get it. You guys have already been so great to us. If you can't, though, please let us know, because we are going to go visit with
nice name drop their adversary. And they will not like that. They'll be like, oh, crap, never mind. Let me sign the check. I like it, man. What's your biggest pull that when you were doing this, you're like, oh, my God, I can't believe it. When you go in, you're confident, and you're like, hey, I'm Kenny Simpson, I'm the shit. And then when you walk here, you're like, oh, my God, I can't believe that happened. That's incredible that I pulled it off. I know you have one of those, and what is it?
Well, what's amazing to me is just the amounts of money some businesses have, specifically banks. If you are in any community across the globe, there's a bank there, and they literally print money. But it amazed me. Like, we would go in and ask for an amount of money that I was like, man, this seems like a whole lot of money, and we get an instant yes right then. And then you leave. If you're any kind of negotiator, you leave and go, dang it, we should have asked for more money. You kind of go, man, we probably could have done this a little differently. And so, and I'll say this, Ron, real quickly, man, it ain't about me. I think a lot of times, I appreciate the compliment, but a lot of times as coaches, we need to think about, you can tell me no all you want. I don't really care. It's hard for a coach or any business to look at an 18, 16, 17-year-old kid and say no. And then one other little ploy to do is you're not a ploy. Again, I'm saying words it's not like some shystery car sales or anything, so I don't want to come across that way. But you do want to take in somebody who knows the decision maker. And so that might be a school administrator who knows that guy. That might be if you form a committee that knows the right people. You want that person, guy, girl, whoever, in the room with you, because a lot of times they'll call that person out and they'll be like, man, I know you got it. Come on. And say things that I would never say to that guy because I don't know that guy. But they know them.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. I like that. I like these little tidbits that I'm extracting from you, because that's something a lot of coaches don't know. Yeah. They don't know the little ins and outs and stuff like that. And again, coaches, if you're just joining us, welcome. I'm here with Coach Kenny Simpson. We are talking about fundraising. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. I will shoot those out. And then at the end, we have a special announcement that only 30 coaches are going to have. And then after that 30 or Thursday, whenever comes first, we're not offering it anymore. So I just wanted to dangle that out at you. Now, how long did it take you to write this book? Was this like a 2-3 day thing? Did you get just brain dump to get the first draft out and then massage it to make it readable? Because like you, I use a lot of commas, so I understand. But or was this like a several months type of deal?
No, this is a quick one. I mean, this is one that I had, I'd kind of already known. I've already done a fundraising course out there before, so I've kind of done some things in this vein, but I've never fleshed it out into an actual book. So it took me probably about 2 weeks to get my part done, and then it's going to take the editor probably a month and a half to clean up my mess and make it look good. So it took about 2 months total, but my part was done in about 2 weeks.
Okay. I mean, like, how often does it take you? You seem to be coming out with books all the time. Like, how do you have like a backlog in your head or somewhere written out on your board, and you're like, okay, this is the one I'm starting on, or is it just like, it hits you and you're like, I'm writing it?
That's kind of how it's going. I've got probably 6 books in the works right now.
Damn.
So what happens? We'll sit, my wife and I have our bed, and we got our little couch in there. Our kids will come in there with my wife. I'll crawl from bed with her, and I sit at my little table, got my computer, and I'm kind of watching whatever show they've got on or game or whatever they're watching. And whatever is in the mood, that's what I'm going to write about. So I try to make sure I write for about 30 minutes to an hour every day. Now that might be, like I said, I've got 6 different books. So one is on page 110 and one might be on page 15, and so that's kind of how all these came about. The fundraiser book was relatively clean cut for me. It was just getting it organized because I didn't want to coach. I wanted to coach to go pick that up, and if nothing else, come away with 3 fundraisers they could do to raise a lot of money, to raise a little bit of money, or to get them by the day to day. And then the guys that are hardcore wanted to give them some more information.
Okay. So I got to ask, man, what's the next? Give us the next 2 books that you're working on.
Well, one will be coming next. It's called One Play Many Ways, and it's about talking about. It's a lot in the veins of that basketball one I did, but I'm cleaning up some stuff that I think will make it a little bit easier. And it's not just going to be about my offense, but it's going to talk about, how football is turning into where we're teaching concepts and how we can run the same play, but good offensive coordinators will run a different RPO, or they'll tag a different route, or they'll tag a formation. So that's going to be a fun one. And then I've got one, I don't know what I'm going to name it yet, but it's much more into the line of the first book I wrote, where it's a whole lot of head coaching kind of general knowledge. I'm not sure where that's going to end up. That's on page about 110 right now, but I've got to kind of figure out where I'm going to push that one. Those are the next 2. I have an offensive coordinator manual that's going to be coming out probably next year too.
Of course. Okay, so have you noticed anything different being an offensive coordinator? Because you were defensive coordinator first, and then you went to head coach, and now you're offensive coordinator. Like, you have that unique ability. Like, now I'm an offensive coordinator. I know what a head coach is looking for. So what is that little nugget? You're like, okay, I need to keep this in the back of my mind now because I've been there before, and I want to make his job easier than what I've had to deal with occasionally.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you. That's a great question. We talked today about that. I said, hey, look, I don't care if we win 3-2 or we win 49-48. You need to tell me though, do you feel defensively like that's our strength, and you want me to drain the clock and don't turn it over and be efficient, or do you want me to try to score 65 points because that's how we're going to win? And I think a lot of times offensive coordinators and head coaches don't have that conversation.
No.
Where the offensive coordinator is trying to get his name out there and score 60, when I'm going, shoot, well, like this year at Thursday, we lost the game 55-52. Well, we lost. I was mad. Did we have 600 yards of offense? Was it my offense? That's cool. We lost. Yeah. That sucks. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm able to do now is whatever he tells me. If he tells me, hey, coach, we're going to limit this to 8 possessions and try to score me 28. Man, that's what I'm going to do. That's because it's his job on the line.
What'd y'all come up with?
We're still evaluating. Well, first, you score 50 and score every time I have the ball. I don't know how possible that one is. We'll see. Basically, you're talking about tempo. It's really what you're talking about. I'm a big efficiency guy. Like, I think we ought to score 50 to 60% of the time we have possession of the football. I think that's a good, kind of ratio for high school football, at least the level we're in with the players. And so does that need to look like 28 and you're going to hold them out of the end zone? Or does that need to look like 42 and y'all just need to get a turnover or 2? So that's what this whole summer is about for us. We're going to kind of figure out where he wants to go.
Okay. And when will that? Because that's a great thing. I've been coaching for 12 years, and I have yet to see an offense or defensive coordinator talk to the head coach about that situation. Are y'all just going to be like, okay, this is what we need? Like, do you have an end, like on this deadline, we're going to decide it, or is it kind of we'll just hopefully come back to this conversation later on?
No, we will. To us, we've got the month of July coming up where right now we're trying to find personnel. So can we play 22 kids? How many kids go both ways, which will dictate a whole lot, Then how are we looking at team camps with our defense? How are we looking with our offense? And then it'll be a conversation. It's his call. I'll tell him what I think in my opinion, and whatever he tells me to do is he's the boss, man. That's the first time I've been able to say that in about 12 years, Ron. So I'm excited to get to say that. He'll make the call, and I'll do what he says. But we will have that conversation. I'm assuming he'll have it with the full staff.
Yeah.
Okay, here's our identity. Here's how we think we can win games.
When's y'all's first game?
I think we have scrimmage late August, and then our first in Arkansas. Your first 3 games are non-conference, so those are kind of experimental games.
Gotcha.
Our first real important game is in late September.
Okay. I think we start the same time as well. I know we have 7-on-7. We were just talking about that tomorrow, and we're only doing 2 7-on-7s, and I am thrilled, man. I don't like 7-on-7. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. And this coming from like a past guy. It's just 7-on-7 is not realistic to me anymore. Like
there's a lot of 7-on-7 champions.
Yeah.
That don't win in real football. It teaches bad habits at times.
Horrible habits.
Now that being said, does it have its place? Yeah, it's got its place. I'm a big Dolphin fan. Everybody's upset 2 or through 5 picks in 7-on-7. Well, you know what we're doing on 7-on-7? We're trying new stuff.
Yeah.
We're going to throw a buttload of picks because that's how we learn. But I'm not going to go into a tournament and try to win it. That's
okay.
kind
I'm glad you brought that up. As a new OC, how do you deal with 7-on-7? Like I know, because now you're only focusing about the offense. I know as you're a head coach, you were focused more on offense and defense. You're split, but now it's just strictly offense. Are you drawing plays up in the dirt? Are you running your stuff? Are you sitting there like in the huddle if you have a huddle and you're having to dictate like, hey, okay, here's a play that we haven't gotten to yet, but this is a play we're going to run, so you run this, and this. Like, what's your whole philosophy with that?
Well, we ran, and I think we talked a little bit off air, we ran 2 concepts.
Yeah, I love it.
That was it. We ran our flood concept. We ran our snag concept. My main concern on that was showing our kids how many different ways, and that goes back to that book I'm looking at. That's why my mind's in that right now. How many ways we can run snag. We can run snag with the X post. We can run snag out of empty. We can run snag with a motion. We can snag out of bunch. We can run. And showing our kids, look how easy this stuff is, how the defense reacts to it. But really, the other big concern for me is finding personnel, finding dudes.
Yeah.
So we're going to play way more guys than we ever would in the game and give these kids opportunities. And then the only thing I got frustrated on all day was it was 3rd and 15, and our kid ran a 14-yard out route short of the stick. He's new. He's learning. So I calmed down. Talked to him. Did you realize what we did right there? Yes, sir. I get it. We threw a pick on a first down. I got mad about that. Those were 2 things that those will show up on Friday night. We can't do that kind of stuff.
I'm sure you're like, damn it, I should have just ran the ball on that one.
Yeah, well, that's what our kids came to the sideline. Our word for buck. They were like, Coach, can we just run buck? And I said, no, I think they get mad at us.
I think you should, man. I really do. If you see that the linebackers are already toes at 8-9 yards and the safety is like 20, I think you should be able to. Now, I'm not saying getting crazy like what was it in Texas where they actually rushed? Did you see that clip on Twitter? Like they're rushing 7-on-7. I'm like, what is this?
I was thinking about Texas, and I'm probably getting in trouble with any guys that are listening to this. Texas does a whole lot of things right. They do a lot of things right. I think they do a ton of things right.
But not
their schedule in 7-on-7 is about the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And I think most Texas coaches probably would agree with that because they're just doing what they're governed to do. But that kind of stuff like that, what are we doing? That helps nobody get ready to win a game on Friday night.
I completely agree. It drives me crazy when you see that. And we're starting now in South Carolina, starting to get the 7-on-7 All-Stars, which I know you say we can't say the R word, recruiting. That's what they do. That they're recruiting through there, and we don't say anything. Jake says in some 7-on-7 leagues they allow one rush a series. I just think that's crazy. Like, I don't know. That's just me. But hey, I don't get paid the big bucks to think about that. Coaches, now we talked about how we have this thing. Coach Simpson and I are doing a mini workshop, and we're doing it on fundraising. And this is where you could learn everything you want about fundraising. It's only limited to 30 seats, though. And what I'm doing is I'm going to drop this in the chat right now. It's Fundraising 101. Coach Simpson's going to walk us through his whole system, everything like that. You're going to have however much time we need to answer your questions. Again, it's only 30 seats. Once those 30 seats are filled, we're not offering this again. If you get one of the 30, you get lifetime access. But once these 30 seats are gone, it's gone. It's this Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Y'all are the first ones to get this. This will be going out to both of our email list and Facebook groups tomorrow. But if you want to get in on this, that is where you go right there. So just wanted to throw that out there. Derek says no rush in UIL 7-on-7. You were looking at AAU 7-on-7. Derek, I don't know. I just saw it on Twitter. It was 2 rushers rushing the quarterback. And no one was blocking for the quarterback. And I was like, what the hell is that? What am I looking at? This is like playground stuff.
Yeah.
So
on a side note here too, some of you guys, what state you're in, you were talking about a money maker. We make about $2,000 a year running 1 7-on-7.
Yeah.
And so that's a good one.
Plus concessions. I don't know how a lot of schools are. They don't kind of give concessions to the football program, but if you can, especially during that 7-on-7, I mean, I know there's a school up here that they only do 1 7-on-7. Like, they don't go anywhere. They have their own 7-on-7 tournament at their school. They have concession, and they make close to $10,000 in that one day. And it's just straight up football and concessions. And then they get, I mean, it's unbelievable. They get a Chick-fil-A sandwich, and they mark it up like 3X. And you would be surprised what teenage kids would do when they're running around 7-on-7, and you have a Chick-fil-A sandwich right there. They spend $10 on it, and you pay like $3. And it's like, oh my goodness.
I've seen them now. They'll get the picture person. If you've been to those big tournaments, my daughter just once they came to the soccer. My little boy's playing AAU basketball. They walk around with these pictures, so they put them in these frames. And I was like, oh, man, I'll get my little girl a picture. We just one state. That's pretty cool. So how much is it for the picture of the little girl? It was like $125. And I went, man, I'll just use my phone, But here's the deal. Somebody's buying that stuff.
Yes.
And I'll tell you right now, I'm not telling you to prey on kids, because I don't preach that with fundraising. But if you're a youth coach in here, host a youth camp, and the benefits go towards your program.
Yeah.
Man, you would make a killing.
Yeah, and also talking about money, Cash App, Vimeo. You would be surprised. At my old school, we actually started using that toward the end of when I was there, because a lot of kids don't carry cash, but they do have the Cash App and Vimeo. And dude, we made a killing on concessions with that. They just send you the cash, and you're like, okay, here it is. And that's something that we learned from the kids. Like, hey, I'm still stuck in the card phase. I don't carry cash, but I use my card all the time. They don't even have that. They just have a Cash App, and they Cash App each other. They Cash App for concessions. We do that at our school now. It's unbelievable. So if you're looking at running one of those things and need a way to collect money without, touching cash or whatever, look into the Cash App. I don't have a link for that or anything. I just wanted to go ahead and let y'all know. That stuff's amazing.
And that's what the big fundraiser now you're seeing, and I don't do this one, but I've heard, I think Adrenaline, a couple of those ones do it. It's literally like a GoFundMe account. Like, that's becoming the rage, because people, when they get it on their phone, they just send money. And so that's not my flavor, but I do like the fact that it's 100% profit.
Yeah. So, Coach, I appreciate you coming on, man. I know I got to get in bed because I got 7-on-7. I'm geeked. You know how it is. 7-on-7, we finally get to call. This is the first 7-on-7 in 2 years since we didn't have one last year. So I'm looking at it now. You've got my mind tingling about just calling a couple of just like 3 or 4 plays and just say, screw it. Let's go.
Like run snag, one whole game.
Okay.
That's your challenge. You can run all the tags, but you can run the wheel, you can run the pole, you can tag, but that's the only play you can call.
Okay.
I bet you Thursday, if we're talking, you'll win that game.
Yes, we will talk, and I'm going to do that. That's going to be that first whole series, man. And my kids are going to look at me like, what in the world? And be like, I don't care. Shut your mouth. This is what we're doing.
Do it. Yep.
All right, and coaches, again, join us Thursday. There's only 30 seats left this Thursday. It's right there in the chat. Coach, where can they find you real quick if they want to get in contact with you or learn more?
Everything's FB Coach Simpson. So FBCoachSimpson.com is my website. And then, of course, the book is on that if you're interested in going and getting one of those. And then FB Coach Simpson at gmail.com is my email, and FB Coach Simpson is my Twitter handle. And I'm generally available in one of those flavors. I think I'm doing a book giveaway on Twitter right now, and we may get with Ron and do another one. I like giving books to guys, and I think that's why I do it, is to help with the coach.
Yep. All right. Look at that. Be on the lookout for the book giveaway because we are doing that. And until next time, coaches, y'all have a great one.